عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. Second paragraph. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلي وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. We have talked about how to prepare yourself for the prayer and what are the things that you could do to make yourself present with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as you are starting the prayer. Imam Ghazali gave a very good exercise to do while you're praying, how to get that khushu', that devotion in your prayer, and how to have your heart present when you are in the prayer with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, we gave an example that is relating to us. So after he completes that, then he gets into how to start the prayer. So he says, once you are present with your heart, فَإِذَا حَضَرَ قَلْبُكَ فَلَا تَتْرُكِ الْإِقَامَةِ. He says, once you are ready to and you have prepared yourself to pray, then say the iqamah. Do not leave the iqamah for the prayer. If you are praying alone, if you are praying at home, and then you start the prayer. And then he says, if you are in a masjid, then wait for the iqamah to be given, and then you will start the prayer in jama'ah. But if the adhan was not called, then you should call the adhan. Now, if you come into the masjid and you believe that the adhan was not called, then the adhan should be called. A masjid, a place that is built and prepared for the prayer, or a musalla that 5 daily prayers are established, then the adhan of every prayer should be given, regardless of the jama'ah is going to happen or not. If there's only one person, you call the adhan, call the iqamah, and pray your fard salah. But normally in a masjid, the adhan should be called for every salah. It's a complete da'wah, it's a complete invitation. It's a complete call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, call to the prayer, call to success. And that's why the dua that we say after the prayer, we say, Allahumma rabba hadhi da'wati tamma. Oh Allah, you are the Lord of this complete invitation, this complete da'wah. So, and therefore the adhan is meant to be given outside of the masjid, not inside the masjid. Because those who are already there in the masjid, they don't need to be called to the prayer, they're already there. And iqamah is for hadirin, is for those people who are present, that now it's time to start the prayer. So therefore, the fuqaha and the scholars from all the way to the Prophet ﷺ, was accustomed to give the adhan outside the masjid. In some places they will have a place for the muadhin to give adhan. Sometimes they will call the adhan from the minaret, sometimes they will call the adhan from a higher place, from the roof, outside of the masjid, to announce to the people, right? So if it's called in a masjid, then it will not go outside. And therefore, sometimes we do it outside over there, sometimes over there by the shurak, outside in the lobby. And we have a speaker as well, so the voice goes outside to the school building, to the people in the basketball court. People are just standing outside. So it's i'lan lil ghaibin. Adhan is to convey the message to those who are not present. So calling the adhan is important. Only the second adhan of Jumu'ah, of the Friday prayer, is given inside the masjid in front of the khatib. The sunnah is that when the khatib is ready to start the khutbah, the second adhan is given in front of him. And that's why we usually have it here. We do a lot of adhans here as well. But anyway, it's okay, it's permissible, but it's best to do it outside.
So Juma, we need to have two adhan, you said?
Yes.
So one is, because normally...
Well, but one is like for in the adhan time, and the second one for the imam start the khutbah.
So the first adhan, it was normally given much prior to the khutbah starting. It's for letting the people know that now it's time to get ready for Jummah Salah. So people take a shower if they need to wrap up what they're doing, finish up and start moving towards the masjid. And therefore, the scholars say, إِذَا نُودِيَ لِلصَّلَاةِ, that applies to the first adhan. That once you hear the first adhan, start your preparing. Start your preparation, get ready, go to the masjid, be there. And then the second adhan is called to start the khutbah. That was established in the time of Uthman, the third Khalifa, the third Caliphate after the Prophet ﷺ, and it became the tradition from since then, just like the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, he established Salat al-Tarawih in Jama'ah in the masjid. So these are the sunan of the Khulafa. And therefore, sunnah is not only restricted to what the Prophet ﷺ said or did, not just with the Prophet, because our tradition has to live on. And therefore, it doesn't restrict all of our deen with only the Prophet ﷺ. Yes, the source has to be the Prophet ﷺ. The source, the original source has to be the Prophet ﷺ. But Allah has kept His deen alive, has kept His religion, this tradition alive through the people, not through the books that are sitting on the shelves, not the books that we have in front of us, not with all the information that are stored in our computers and our tablets. It's by the people. It's by the people, the God-fearing, those godly people, those people who are the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who are connected with Allah. That's how Allah kept this deen alive. Otherwise, if you look at the history of Islam, there are many places where Islam was demolished, Islam was wiped out. And Allah preserved Islam even in those places through real people, right? They have lost everything, even the Quran copies they did not have and they were not allowed to have. But still, it remained by the people. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, sent the Quran, He sent the people of the Quran. And therefore, the Prophet ﷺ was also sent. The Quran could have been given to all the Sahaba and say, follow. But the Quran was sent and the Prophet ﷺ was sent. So to follow the rightly guided Khulafa al-Rashidun, especially the first three generations, whatever it was established by the believers, مَا رَآهُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ حَسَنًا فَهُوَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ حَسَنٌ, that whatever the believers, the scholars, the real people who know the deen, if they keep something and they make something as a practice and as a good, then that stays good for the rest of the people, right? And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this interesting verse in the Quran that we read in every rak'ah. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, guide us to the right path. And He didn't say the path of the Prophet ﷺ. He just Allah kept it open. Sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim. Otherwise it would have been Sirat al-Rasuli sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the way of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. No. Sirat al-ladhina, all those people who are rightly guided people, righteous people, follow their path, right? It's a communal tradition that we have. It's not just one person. Even the four madahib, they're not just four people, that people just followed their thought, followed their ideology, or followed their ways. They were all schools. That's how we say the four schools of thought. Imam Hanifa used to consult more than 200 scholars in his gatherings. And then when there was if there was a consensus or the dominant opinion on certain things, then he will allow that. He will approve that. So they're all schools of thought. And that's why الَّذِينَ أَنَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ. What is the definition of that? Those people that Allah has bestowed upon them. Who are those people? Allah mentions in another ayah. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ نَعْمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ. Those people that Allah bestowed upon them. مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ, the prophets, all the prophets. وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ, all those who are true to God. وَالشُّهَدَاء, and the martyrs, those who martyred their self and their ego and their caprice for Allah. Those are those shuhada. And as-salihin in general, the pious people. Right? That's why we have the sunan. It's not the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ alone. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said that, عَلَيْكُمْ بِسُنَّتِي, my sunnah, sunnatu khulafa'i rashidin. So that's how we have. It's a building that is constructed with many things. It's not just one block. There's so many things that make up this building. So what makes up our deen are these four categories. So Uthman radiallahu anh established the second adhan, which now it's the first adhan. So he used to have it done in a marketplace, outside, way in the marketplace. One person will call the adhan over there, and then before the khutbah, they will have the second adhan. And that became the sunnat khulafa'i rashidin. So it's a misconception or misunderstanding of a lot of people that always say that we follow the Quran and the Sunnah. The Quran and the Sunnah, people really don't know what does that mean. Or some people say we follow the Quran and Hadith. That doesn't exist in anywhere in the tradition. Follow the Quran and Hadith, it's not there. Nowhere the Prophet ﷺ said that. Follow the Quran and Hadith. But Quran and Sunnah is there. But what do you mean by Sunnah? So a lot of people think that only the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, but the Prophet ﷺ, he himself said, عَلَيْكُمْ بِسُنَّتِي وَسُنَّةُ الْخُلَفَاءِ الرَّاشِدِينَ. Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge, the people of remembrance. Right here, أهل الذِّكْر, the Sahaba say that this is meant for the people of knowledge. If you have any issue, ask the people. Right? And other ayats of the Quran. So this is something important for us. Just like we have a problem, we go to a doctor. We seek their advice. Right? And we don't go to 10 different doctors. We go to one doctor. And therefore, if you got your answer from one scholar, stick with it. Don't start shopping around. Right? There's grasshoppers and there's fatwa shoppers. And I usually say there's madhab hoppers and fatwa shoppers. Madhab hoppers and fatwa shoppers. So madhab meaning, okay, the Shafi'i opinion is easy for me on this issue, and I'm going to take that one. Okay, in the Hanafi position, this is easy, I'm going to take that one. And then the Maliki madhab, oh, that's easy, I'll take that one. And then the other thing is easy, I'll take that one. Stick to one place, right? Yeah. Too many doctors will kill you. Too many cooks spoil the food. So to stick with one, and therefore this was a practice. Abdullah bin Mas'ud was over there. Ali radiallahu anhu was in a different place. So and so was. They had their people that followed them. They didn't go all over. They followed one, and they were suffice. But there has to be a right scholar. It has to be a right place to go. Right? And fatwa shopper, okay, this scholar gave me a strict position and a strict answer that is hard for me to practice. Let me go and ask another scholar. That same question, it comes up again and again and again. And okay, my local imam is not giving me the right answer. Let me ask this guest speaker who came. So, or ask the other imam from the other place. Oh, that imam allows that. He says it's okay. Okay, mashallah. So anyway, the bottom line is that we want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is the way? The way to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to find the scholars of the past. You know what they did? You know what they did? They would take the strictest opinion from all the madahib and follow that. Right? So that was their way of doing it. That's the way that they were hopping from madhab to madhab. They're taking the strictest of all to make sure that I'm not going against any madhab. Right? It's halal over here, but it's not. It's makruh over there. Oh, I'll stay away because over there is makruh. We go the other way, other way around. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on us. And that's why it's good to stick with one madhab, because you get confused. You get confused. It is always recommended to follow one madhab. I would always say to people, especially in the West, where we don't have that many scholars, we don't have like 20 different scholars in Sharon that we can have a consensus on. We can get together. We have a gathering in where people can scholars can discuss and debate an issue and come to a conclusion. We don't have that. So follow your local imam, your local scholar. You're good to go. Allah, Allah. So the adhan is definitely, it needs to be given. If it was not done, you should give it. And then he says, qada iqama, and then make your intention. So the intention has to be connected with the starting of your prayer. There should not be a explicit gap between what you have intended to do and starting the prayer. So for example, I came in, I walked through the door, I'm standing over, I'm about to say Allahu Akbar. I already made my intention, I know what I'm doing. You don't have to say it with your tongue. I'm praying 4 rakat, I'm praying 2 rakat, I'm praying whatever, salat, this so and so. You don't have to say anything. Intention comes from what's in your heart. What's on your mind, that's your intention. It's good to say it, just to remind yourself, I'm praying 2 rakat, salat al-fajr. I'm praying 4 rakat, salat al-isha. I want to please my Lord with these 4 rakats. It's fine. But you don't have to. Now, if I intended that, and then suddenly a Reeb comes to me and says, hey, do you know what's happening tomorrow in Boston? Oh, what's happening? Oh, so-and-so rally. Are you going there? No, I'm not going. Allahu Akbar. Now that's a gap between my intention and my prayer. Right? But if I came in, I was standing there, I've already intended. My coming is an intention. I'm coming over, that's my intention. And I stood there for maybe 5 minutes, just waiting for the prayer. And then I didn't talk, I didn't do anything like obvious, different from what I'm intending to do. And then I said Allahu Akbar, but at that particular moment, I was not thinking about the prayer. Then still is allowed according to the Hanafiya. According to the Shafi'i madhab, it has to be connected all the way to the saying the first word, Allahu Akbar. It has to be connected. If there was a 2-second gap, that will not be allowed. So to know that you're praying. So that's a general intention. I'm praying. Then if you are praying, for example, Isha Salah, then you have to intend that particular Isha. For example, I came in, I intended to pray Dhuhr instead. And I say Allahu Akbar. I'm intending to pray, but I specified that intention with a particular prayer. Then it will not be allowed. You have to specify which prayer, which salat are you praying. You're praying Dhuhr, you're praying Isha, you're praying Asr, you're praying a Nafli, you're praying Tahiyatul Masjid. What are you praying? So that's specific intent. For a Nafli, for a non-fard, non-wajib, non-obligatory prayer, for a Nafli prayer, any general intention is allowed. I'm just praying 2 rakats, Allahu Akbar. You don't have to specify which 2 rakats are you intending. Tahiyatul Masjid, is it Tahiyatul Wudu, is it Salat al-Haja, is it Salat al-Tasbih, is it Duha, is it Awabin, is it Ishraq? You don't have to intend that. It's not necessary. So intention is very important. So here he says, وَقُلْ فِي قَلْبِكَ, say in your heart. You could say it with your tongue, as I mentioned, that I'm praying this particular prayer for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, he says after that, that your heart should be present with the takbirah. And then he says, raise your hand with the takbir. When you say takbirah, this is called takbiratul tahrim or takbiratul ihram. The takbirah, the saying Allahu Akbar, that makes the permissible thing impermissible. It makes eating impermissible. It makes talking impermissible. It makes anything that is against the things that you do in prayer. It makes it impermissible. So talking, walking, drinking, thinking. Thinking will not nullify, but according to the people of the heart, the people of Allah, they say that it nullifies your prayer. But anyway, those things you cannot do because it makes it haram. That's called takbirat al-ihram. So saying takbirat al-ihram, according to the Shafi'is, is that you raise your hand and the tips of your fingers will be close to the earlobes and your palm will be close to your shoulder. That's according to the Shafi'iyah. According to the Hanafiya, it goes a little bit up. That instead of these fingers, you will use your thumb that will make it close to your earlobe. So it will go a little higher. Opening up the fingers a little bit. Not wide open like that, and not completely closed together, joined. As is. And face your palm towards the Kaaba. And
you don't have to touch your...
You don't have to touch. It has to be in line with your earlobe, so that high. That's good.
Should it be straight or it could be like this?
Yeah, straight facing towards the Kaaba. Facing towards the Kaaba. Not like this. Like this. According to both. According to the Shafi'i and the Hanafi as well. وهما مبسوط وأصابع منشورة فلا تتكلف ضمها ولا تفريجها. That's all, we already said that. And we already mentioned that as well. فإذا استقرتا في مقرهما فكبر. He says once you have raised your hand and it came into the proper position, that's the time you say Allahu Akbar. Right. And then he says, according to the Hanafiya, it's interesting the way how the Hanafiya put things into perspective when it comes to putting your hand over another in your standing position. There are 3 different ahadith that indicate to 3 different meanings. Okay? The first hadith says, hold on to your wrist. The other hadith says, put your hand over the other. The inside on the top of the other. The third hadith says, put your hand on the wrist. Ya Allah, what's happening? There are 3 contradicting ahadith. How do we do that? Which one do we choose? Which one do we choose?
The easier for you.
The easy one? So the Hanafiya, they take the position that you could practice 3 and there are 3 okay. Because the meaning will apply to this single way of doing it, that 3 of the meaning of 3 ahadith will apply. Is that the palm goes over the palm, these 2, your pinky and the thumb, will go on a circle, so you're holding, and then the 3 fingers on top.
On the wrist.
On the wrist. So you have your hand on the wrist, you're holding, and you have the palm over the palm. That's how you put the 3 ahadith. The Shafi'i put 2 and hold the 2 down. They put 2 on this, which is also fine. Now these are not wajibat. It's not something that if you don't do it, your salat is not accepted. The Malikiyah, they do irsal. They put the hand down. Right? Imam Malik rahimahullah and his school of thought, they have taken it from many Sahaba who practiced praying in Medina. And they saw them, and those people who saw them, and those people saw them, all the way to Imam Malik and the scholars of that time. They have taken the practice of the people of Medina, and that's how they saw them praying, having their hands down. It's established sunnah. There are many hadiths supporting that, and therefore that opinion, according to their madhab, is totally fine, leaving their hand down. And they say it's afdal, it's best to do it that way, but you could do qabd, just like the rest. So that's why you see the Malikiyah, sometimes you see them having the hand down, sometimes they will do qabd. So both are okay. This deen is so beautiful that we have so many different things of way of doing things, and they all go back to the sunnah. There's nothing against the sunnah. And then he says after that, you say Allahu Akbar. After he mentioned that, he says Allahu Akbar kabira, alhamdulillah kathira, wa subhanallah bukratan wa asila. This is something that according to the Shafi'iyya, you will say that, and you will say وَجَّهْتُ وَجْهَ الَّذِي فَطَرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ حَنِيفًا وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. That's established from the hadith. The Hanafiya say that hadith, it applies to say it before the prayer. The Shafi'iyya say you say it after the takbirah. And then after that you say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. The Hanafiya say that you should say سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وتبارك اسمك وتعالى جدك ولا إله غيرك. You say that after the takbirah, and that is called thana, praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you go to ta'awudh. So it's okay. If you don't know that, you could say something else. You could say this dua as well, it's okay. And then he says that, say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, and say Surah Al-Fatiha after that. And then he says you have to recite Surah Al-Fatiha and make sure that you are pronouncing all the letters properly. You are prolonging the places. There are 13 places in Surah Al-Fatiha where there's prolong. You make it longer. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So there are 13 different places that the scholars have mentioned to make it longer. Differentiating between Dad and Dha. Dad and Dha, like وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ, to make sure that you're pronouncing it properly. He says to make sure that you make that effort to make it clear. And then he says after that, قُلْ آمين, say Ameen, which means that, oh Allah, accept my supplication. I made a dua, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم, oh Allah, accept my supplication. Ameen. And that coincides with the Ameen of the angels, because when you're praying in Jama'ah, there are angels that also say Ameen along with the Imam. Now the Shafi'iyya and the Hanabila, these two say that you should say Ameen out loud. The Prophet ﷺ said that when the Imam says the Surah Fatiha up to وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ فَقُولُوا Ameen, say Ameen. And the Hanafiya say that you say it in a low voice, so what is the reason why the Hanafiya say it? I'll give you a very rational reason. The Prophet ﷺ said that if your Ameen coincides with the Ameen of the angels, your dua is accepted. So do we hear the angels saying Ameen?
No.
So if they're saying it silent, then we should also say it silent. It's a rational reason. But there are other supporting ahadith and dalail reasonings for both. Whoever says it in a low voice, he's also following the sunnah. Those who follow the Shafi or the Hanabila, they also establish, following a established, opinion in their madhab. It's okay to say it out loud. Allah will listen to the voice of that you can hear, or those that you cannot hear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer your Ameen. You have to say it with conviction. Say it with ikhlas, with sincerity, and Allah will accept your dua. And he says, make your qira'ah in the morning and Maghrib and Isha in the first 2 rak'ats, as we know. And we will do it the way how we usually do it. And he says in Fajr to read long verses, long surahs. It's called Tiwal Mufassal. Now, the different scholars have differed of what are the Tiwal Mufassal, what are the Tiwal, the Awsat Mufassal, and what are the Qisar Mufassal. What are the long, medium, short. The Hanafiya say that the long surahs are from Surah Al-Hujurat onwards all the way to Surah Al-Buruj. Surah Al-Buruj. According to some, Surah Tariq is also included. And then the Awsat, the medium ones, are from Surah Al-A'la all the way to Surah Al-A'la is which number? I don't know the numbers. Surah Al-A'la all the way until Surah Bayyinah, right? Surah Bayyinah. And the short ones, the Qisar Mufassal, are from إِذَا زُلْزِلَ, which surah number is that? إِذَا زُلْزِلَ all the way to وَالنَّاسِ. So these are the preferred. If you are traveling, you're in a hurry, you have less time, you don't have enough time, you are at school, you are at work, you need to get back within a few minutes, you can make it short. The Prophet ﷺ has established that he read قُلْ يَا الْكَافِرُونَ قُلْ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ in his traveling Fajr Salah. So when he was traveling, he read those two. And قُلْ يَا الْكَافِرُونَ is the symbol of عبودية. أعبد 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 لا أعبد لا. It talks about this. It's a symbol of عبودية, being Allah's servant and serving Allah. And قُلْ وَاللَّهُ أَحَدٌ is a symbol of وحدانية, symbol of oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you have those two, you have got everything. So that's why those two surahs are very significant in doing it and reciting them in the prayer. For example, the 2 rakat sunnah before Fajr, the 2 rakat that you come and pray right before Salah, or Tahiyyat al-Masjid, or the 2 rakat if you go for Umrah after the Tawaf. Any 2 rakats that you want to pray and nothing comes to your mind immediately, is the best option, because you have those 2 great meanings in those 2 surahs. Okay, here he mentions that in the Fajr if you're a traveler, in the Fajr Salah you could recite قُلْ يَا الْكَافِرُونَ قُلْ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, and then he says go into ruku' and say Subhana Rabbiyal in ruku'. Which one? Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. And in sajda Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. Why Azim over there and A'la down? When you are in ruku', it's a symbol of humility, humbleness. You're humbling yourself. But the ultimate humbleness is in your sujood. So when you are, and the word Azama, it means greatness. A'la, it means the greatest. So when you are more humble, that's where you glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you say you are the greatest. Right? And Subhana Rabbil Azim has a meaning of greatness as well. Inshallah, when we go over the word Al-Azim in one of the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can contemplate on that as well. So he says, say it at least 3 times, and you can add up to 27 times, as much as you can. So we will stop over here on our ruku', and inshallah we'll come back and we will talk about the rest of the prayer inshallah next Wednesday. Inshallah. Subhanallah bihamdi. Subhanallah al-azim. Subhanakallah bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha